What's good, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Land Grant Podcast Network's Power 2 Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan, and I'm here with my co-host, DJ.
Yes. Hello. Good afternoon. Whatever time you're listening to this.
Yeah, I still don't exactly know when this is dropping. Shout out to Life.
Listen, life be lifing, but we're still going to get you guys the content, and that is what matters.
You know, we professionals.
We are.
So there's really not a whole lot of news, largely because, as we've discussed before, I don't really want to be one of those like transfer portal podcasts. There's enough of those with like 247 Sports and On Three and like all these things. Like I don't want to be listing like this player went here and this player went here and this player entered the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff.
And I don't care, quite frankly.
Yes, like not doing that. There's not a whole lot of news that happens at this time of the year. So very clearly, this podcast is going to be focused on the playoff games. But you know, maybe we'll run a little bit into like a bowl recap if there's just any games that kind of speak out. Speak to us. But in the one bit of news of sorts, the NFL draft, the first 18 are out. No one cares that much about those. We just want to talk about the first three picks.
Yes.
Just mention them. The first three picks, the Titans have 1, the Browns have 2, the Giants have 3. The overwhelming sort of consensus is that the first 3 players picked is going to be Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter. Of course, Cam Ward, quarterback from Miami, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback from Colorado, and Travis Hunter,
Mr. Everything.
Winner, Mr.
Yeah.
Everything. from
Literally Mr. Everything.
So do you have any initial thoughts on these people, these teams, the NFL draft at all? Like, do you follow the draft outside of the Cowboys? Like, what are your initial thoughts of these 3 teams being at the top, or, you know, anything with the players?
Yeah. So actually, as big of a sports fan that I am not a draft follower. Like, I don't really follow the draft of any sport. Then the only reason why I even cared about the WNBA draft last year is because of Angel Reese. So I'm really not a draft watcher. Like, I love the pomp and the circumstance around it and all of that, but like, we also know like what situation these players end up in and how that all turns out is something that we just cannot predict, you know? So I'm just kind of like I'm the type of person, I don't have the highest expectations of the first round draft pick. Like, I don't have low expectations of the guy who's in the 6th round. Like, it just is what it is to me. I'm very interested to see how this is going to work with Travis Hunter being a player that plays on both sides of the ball, because I've never seen that in the NFL before, where like that actually happens. Like, you do usually have to make some sort of choice. So I'm very interested to see like if he's going to be drafted as a specific position, or if he's going to enter the draft like WR/CB. Like, that I don't know if you can even do that. So
yeah,
that's like my only thought, because I feel like that would also kind of affect his draft positioning. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know how to say this because people are going to assume that I'm being disrespectful, and I'm not. I don't think he can do this in the NFL.
I don't think he can either. I agree.
In the NFL, you know what I'm saying? Like
it's a different sport. You're playing with grown men.
And I just don't think, and so much of the NFL, right, as we learn all the time, so much of the NFL is mental. Like, the best players aren't just the strongest, fastest, whatever. They're in a lot of cases the smartest, the most technically savvy. There are so many little things that go into that job. And I'm sorry, I just don't believe that you can guard Justin Jefferson and then 3 snaps later
turn around
and turn around, and I don't know why this is the first thing that comes out of my mouth, but turn around and run routes on Jair Alexander.
Like,
I was trying to say the guy from the Broncos, who Pat Surtain. That's what I'm trying.
Oh, yeah.
So, and obviously different teams, right? But like, I just don't think that, like, I don't know who the best team that has the best corner wide receiver tandem is, but like, I just don't believe that you're gonna go, you know, and guard Justin Jefferson and then run routes on Jair Alexander, on Pat Surtain, and do all of these things. And I get it that he has the talent. I
Yeah.
also think he's doing himself a disservice. I still contend when you look at Justin Jefferson, when you look at Jamar Chase, even when you look at, say, a Jeremiah Smith who's 19, Travis Hunter's best position is corner.
It's corner. I agree.
When you again, he can do it. He can absolutely do it. But when you look at the best corners, the best wide receivers in college, you look at the best wide receivers in the pros right now, I just don't think he's as good as any of them.
I also don't think he has the size. And I hate to say that like that, but I don't think he has the size to be a wide receiver in the NFL. I think his size would be better used as a corner because he's more agile. You know what I mean?
And I don't even know that. Like, I agree with you, but I'm not even sure it's that he doesn't have the size as much as his size at corner would be a benefit where it wouldn't be a benefit at wide receiver.
That's what I'm saying.
Because he's 6'1", 185 pounds. That happens. That we have those. Jackson Smith and Jigba is roughly around that size. That's not awful.
Yeah.
If it says he's 6'1", he's probably 6 foot. He's probably 6 foot 175. They'd be lying on it, but that's fine.
Yeah. But, they may inflating.
Yeah, but I think that So if it was me, if I was drafting, I would draft him as a corner. And part of the thing that that made me think about that, right, is so the Giants are number 3. There's a chance that the Giants get him. If he were to play wide receiver, is he better than Malik Neighbors? My answer is no.
I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry, no. And also, to me, there's nothing more, in my opinion, there's nothing more beneficial than a ridiculously athletic defensive player. So I just feel like you are better. You are also a better asset to your team if you go in as a corner because you have the skills of a wide receiver, you have the eyesight of a wide receiver, you have all those things, and then you're also just wildly athletic. I just feel like his skill set leans more towards that.
So Malik Neighbors is listed at 6 foot 200 pounds.
Yeah.
So, roughly the same size, especially if he really committed to the workroom and put on some, some weight.
Put on some extra pounds,
maintain more weight if he wasn't playing 100 snaps. But Malik Neighbors, as a rookie for the Giants, had 109 catches for 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That is one of the best rookie seasons. Marvin Harrison Jr., who I still think is one of the best rookie wide receivers in its situation, things like that, he didn't even reach 1,000 yards. You telling me he's a better wide receiver prospect than Marvin Harrison Jr.? And so it's just, for me, I think he's a great player. I think he's a great athlete. I think that he should be a corner. And that's that.
I agree.
I don't know.
I just wonder how he's going to navigate it. You know what I mean? Because I saw
I think he's already said he wants to play both.
Yeah. And I heard him on a podcast. I can't recall who he was talking to. I know he was talking to another athlete, but he even said because the guy asked him, he was like, "Are you kind of in a space where you would just kind of feel whatever the team needed?" He was like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to get in the door." So I'm like, at least he has a good attitude about it. It doesn't seem like he's married to one side or the other. So I just wonder about that because I'm just also the NFL is just way more specialized than college is. All of these roles are specialized, but the NFL, it's really, really it's siloed. I can't even see a head coach being you want to play 100 snaps in an NFL game? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I don't know. That's my only thought about it, though. It seems like Shedeur has already decided that he's going to the Giants. So,
well, he thought they were getting the number 1 pick, and he assumed he was going number 1.
And he assumes he's number 1, which I would still venture off to say that Travis Hunter is going first, regardless. But
yeah, so that's the other thing, and we can move on for this because we don't have to stay on this forever. The other thing is all 3 of these teams technically need a quarterback.
They all do.
But are all of them going? I could easily see the Titans not drafting a quarterback and going to build up the roster. I just saw a mock draft today that had the Browns taking an offensive tackle. I could easily see that. There's no way to get out of Mr. Masadzmi's contract. Like it's just impossible.
Mr. Misogyny.
They don't have it. And the Giants, I could see like the Giants with Malik Neighbors and things like that, I could see them going and trying to find their Sam Darnold, getting a Justin Fields or something like that, and trying to build up their roster, right? The Giants, if they have Malik Neighbors, what if they saw Travis Hunter as a wide receiver? You pair those two together, or they saw him as a corner. You get you have Malik Neighbors and you have Travis Hunter to headline your offense and defense, or even better, which is what I would do. But NFL draft doesn't make sense. You go get that stud defensive tackle and you pair him next to I don't remember his name. Will Anderson. I don't remember his name, but Kayvon Thibodeau. I think he's the one that plays for the Giants.
Sure, I have no idea.
Build up your defense and you go. And my thing is, especially because, like, I'm sorry, hand to God, I don't like. I know, like, I always get on here and I joke and I brag about being right all the time. It's funny. It's my podcast. We can do that, right? But generally, I'm typically right about quarterbacks, but it's because of just how much football I watch. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I'm just like super whatever. But like, this quarterback class sucks. Like, last year's class wasn't great, and all the things that I'm seeing, all the things that I'm reading, my own eyes, they're like everyone in this class would have got drafted. People didn't want the Broncos to draft Bo Nix, and so I've hardly seen anyone say that either of these two guys would have got drafted before Bo Nix last year.
Fair.
They're both black quarterbacks. I wish them all the best. I want them to be successful, but also drafting them this high for these three franchises, I wouldn't do it. Do you trust the Giants with Shedeur
Sanders on the Giants? Mind you, the Giants just basically put their foot down and said, we're not firing our GM and we're not firing our coach.
Like, no.
Why the hell?
The GM that was on camera talking shit about Saquon Barkley, who literally took a rest so he didn't break a fucking 30-year record. And so for me, not only do I not think these quarterbacks are great, I think there are other players worth
more valuable
positions, more valuable. And you get a year in the future. I think it depends on who's going to be in there, but I think next year's class is going to be really good.
Quarterbacks?
I think the year after that may be excellent. Like, so it's just one of those things where, for example, like the Colts, they didn't fire their coach and they didn't fire their GM, and they should have. But some of the things that I heard about it is basically how a lot of the Colts contracts are structured. They can get out of a lot of their players' contracts in 2020 after 2025. So basically, they're giving the coach, the GM, and the quarterback, Anthony Richardson, one more year. If it does not work, they're getting rid of everyone, and I bet you they find a way, because next year's draft class is going to be pretty solid, right? Like, I'm not the biggest Drew Aller fan, but if you took Drew Aller, you sat him for a year, and you put him in NFL coaching, that dude could be a stud. Like, he has all the traits. I just think, You
have opinions. Yeah.
Like, for me, Drew Aller, it would be better in the NFL than college.
And there are some guys who are,
and things like that.
There are some guys who are like that.
Yeah,
that's the thing I worry about.
Was great in college and not good in the NFL.
Not good in NFL.
Drew Aller has, I believe, the ability and the size and even the smarts to succeed. He is just. There's some things you got to coach out of him, right? And there's some things you got to coach into him, and that he's also not going to get at Penn State. And I'll be honest, Drew Aller is better than I thought he was. And if Drew Aller went to Ohio State, Texas, like one of those quarterback developers, I think he'd be the first pick in this year's draft. And I would say that because I didn't think he was going to be good at all. And he's better than I thought. But he's
very elusive. I seeing him in person, I was like, I'm not mad at this quarterback.
He's big, yeah.
And he's big. He's tall as hell.
Yeah, he's like 6'4", 6'5", something like that.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus.
But even that, like, he's just one of them. Like, they're like, depending on how you feel about Quinn, Quinn's probably going to come out in next year's draft. I'm not going to do this right now. We'll be here forever. But there's a couple of guys on my mind who I'm looking at the timeline who are going to be eligible for that draft. I think Tennessee's quarterback, Nico, I mean, oh my gosh.
I know. It's always you say the I.
I practice it. I've like done it in my head because it's not that hard of a name to say, and then I tried to say it off the top and I messed it up. It's Aya Malava.
Yes.
I think he might be in next year's draft. Like, there's going to be some guys. So I don't know, but my number one takeaway before we move on, and I think you agree, these are not the three franchises I want drafting any of these players.
Any of these guys.
How it works in the top of the draft, like the franchises in particular are just, I don't know. I don't know.
I feel the same way, and that was going to be my next thing. If you didn't say it, was like I'm also just not the biggest fan of the idea of Cam Ward, Shedeur, or Travis being on any of these teams.
No,
like because they're also there's front office issues, especially with the Browns and the Giants.
yes.
And when you see stuff like that, that affects their ability to be successful. Like I really am very concerned about Shedeur potentially being on the Giants with that coaching, with that front office. Like, I am genuinely concerned.
Maybe I shouldn't bring in the Titans with the Browns and the Giants. The Titans are in the first year of a new staff, and
yeah, they're different. That's why I'm honing in really on the Browns and the Giants.
I can tell you for sure, Shedeur's not going to the Browns.
He's not. No, the Browns are going to pick. Well, I don't know.
I don't really believe the whole Dion can whatever, like pick and choose where he goes, but I cannot imagine Shedeur in that mess.
Absolutely not. That's gonna be Dion's gonna be like, oh hell no. Like he doesn't have control, but like
it's gonna be a mess.
Oh hell no. You already got no. So that's my biggest thing is like these aren't my favorite three teams, but somebody's got to pick first, second, and third. So I just hope that they end up finding. I'm talking about it like it's like doomsday. Like these are not the worst franchises ever, but like there's some of them. I mean, technically you're first, second, and third in the draft. So by NFL standards, y'all are the worst. But
yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I do hope that they find success because quarterbacks are always going first. You know, that's just how it goes, even though I don't know how much any of these teams need one besides the Giants. So that's why I'm just like, I don't. And then with Cam Ward, like, because we really didn't mention him much. With Cam Ward, like, he's so like, to me, like, he's a good quarterback. He's very good at like rising to the moment, but also at the same time, like, he's not as consistent as I would appreciate. So I also am just kind of like, he's going to need some development. And I don't see where he's getting that on any of these three teams. Like, I just don't see where he's getting that. The
only one, and they're not going to do this, but if I was the Browns, I would try to get out that contract. I would let Jameis start for a full year, even though they refuse to do it, and I would sit him.
And have Cam Ward under him. I agree. I don't think that Cam Ward.
I don't hate that, but I don't.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to do it.
No, of course not. But and this is the thing that frustrates me is, and I saw a lot of it even in this season, is just like throwing these rookie quarterbacks to the fucking wolves, and then having the audacity to be upset that things aren't going your way when it's like, well, they're still rookie quarterbacks. Like, just because they're quarterbacks doesn't mean they're the best players on the field or they're still rookies. They still have to get to where they're getting to. Every quarterback that's a rookie is not going to come in and play like Jaden Daniels.
I think almost every rookie quarterback should sit.
I agree. I don't think that rookie quarterbacks should be starting unless there's particular situations that call for that. And I find more and more that these teams are hanging their hats on their rookie quarterback and then being upset that things are not going the way that they want it to go. And I don't want that to happen to Cam Ward.
And some of the quarterbacks that have had these struggles, right, have just more experience and are more talented and more prepared. Think about Bryce Young, right? Everything that he went through. And he was a 3-year starter at Bama and won a national championship, won a Heisman. All you heard about is how smart he was.
Bryce Young. Yeah.
How smart he was, how ready, how leadership, all these things. And he struggled. And you're going to tell me that you expect Shedeur or Cam to kind of step in and start immediately, literally like the Colts, right? They there were reports coming out that Anthony Richardson didn't really know how to like study and didn't really know like the things like like he would watch film, but not to the level he needed as an NFL quarterback. Like just some of
super
these
detailed.
things.
Yeah.
Starting quarterback. Because you know what you could have done? You could have sat him for an entire year and taught him all of those things.
Hey, there's an idea.
When he's the starter, he's not balancing starting, and then you have to sit him in the middle of the year and be like, hey, you need to work out a little bit more, or you need to, instead of being here for 4 hours, you need to be here for 6, or like these little things. Like that stuff doesn't come natural, right? Like for some people it does, right? Like,
yeah.
But for most it doesn't. And
Yeah.
so it's just like, so why are you trying to make him balance learning how to be an NFL quarterback while also learning how to play quarterback? Those are two different things.
That is, yeah.
And so I don't know that I really, and also, I think maybe the Titans may be fine for one of these as well. It's hard though because they're the number 1 pick, because like Will Levis isn't that good, but they should play Will Levis another year. But like that's
because Will Levis, this was his second year,
something like that. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. So we don't even know.
None of these teams are in a really great spot to draft a quarterback, and especially to draft and sit one. And so I don't know what the hell is going to happen.
It's going to be very interesting. I was talking to my coworker today because he asked me if I thought that the Cowboys were going to take Ashton Genty, and I don't know what pick we are right now. I have truly just completely disassociated this year. I'm still a fan, but like I just don't know all the details. But I think we're somewhere between 12 and 15. And I was just kind of like, I'm sorry, I don't know if Ashton Genty is going to even get down that far. Number one. And if he does, we're going to be stupid and pick like a defensive tackle or something. Like we're not picking up Ashton Genty. Like we're just not. So even though that's what we need. So yeah, we'll just have to suss it out. I may watch this draft just because I'm interested, but usually the NFL draft is around the same time as the WNBA draft, so we just gonna have to see, because the draft class that's coming into the WNBA this year is freaking insane, and I'm gonna need to watch that.
Yeah. So
because it's in April, right? The draft
for who?
The NFL.
Yes.
Yeah. So the draft for the WNBA is also in April, so we just gonna have to see. I have the notifications on ESPN.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like I like the NFL draft. I watch so much college football, but really only like the first round. Like outside the first round, and also like
who's watching the whole thing?
I don't really watch the NFL draft. One of the podcasts that I like, they do like a live stream kind of side by side thing.
Oh yeah,
so they go through it and like talk, and so I watch that.
Yeah.
I'll complain about. We've been on this for 20 minutes. I'll complain about the NFL draft when it's time to complain about that in the off season. But I hate and with the first pick, DJ, she grew up homeless.
Bro, I hate that.
Her dad used to pull her hair.
The tragic stories.
Her mom fed her toes, and somehow she made it all the way to the first pick. She, we didn't think she was gonna be here. We didn't think, like, it's never just like, yep, he tore his ACL and he's such a leader. It's always just like, yep, his second grade teacher's grandson was murdered.
His second grade teacher's grandson is crazy. They did that to some player on one of the Indiana players. They had like a whole special before the Indiana Notre Dame game about him and his dad, and somebody died and all this other stuff. And I'm just like,
come on, man. Like, come on.
So, and it gets more and more ridiculous every single year. Like, it's just like, I can't take, or we could just show his highlights and talk about what a great athlete he is. Like, why are we doing all of this? Like, and his mom has cancer. And like, I just, because I'm also like,
it has never seen him play, but every single game.
Because I'm also like, how much of this are they consenting to be shared? I mean, I'm sure they obviously had to consent to some of it, but I'm also like, what if I don't want y'all in my business? Like
this is one of the greatest days of their life. And when they come up, it's number 1 pick, DJ, and they were ghetto.
She almost got her foot cut off, and
sister was this, and mom was that, and dad was never there, never met his dad, never wanted to meet his dad. His dad's in prison, and I'm just like, oh my!
Named after his dad, but his dad
was so bad with CJ Stroud. So
was it really?
Yes, with CJ Stroud, especially because like his dad is, if I remember correctly, his dad is a victim of the 3-strike rule.
Oh,
So what he did doesn't
didn't
necessarily
warrant.
match the
Yeah.
sentence. And it's just, and then like also because like CJ's like a pretty open person, like he talked about it because he was young, right? Like, and so he was young, he had to be the man of the house. And so it was around the same time that he was getting drafted that he finally decided to forgive his dad.
Oh.
They ate that shit up.
Oh,
Oh
I'm
my
sure.
God. Oh my God. I think he just mentioned it in an interview. He was like, yeah, I finally went to go see my dad for the first time in a while. And we just had a talk as men. Because I think he was like 12 or 13. And because of that, like he's, as unfortunately happens, sometimes they essentially like went into poverty.
Yeah.
And so he hated his dad for a long time. And, like there's some things with that story, right? Especially if he wants to tell it, which he has told sometimes. But my God, they heard it. I'm surprised they didn't ask to interview his sit down with his dad. Like, I'm surprised they didn't like go to the jail and like make that man stand up
And put him in front of
and,
cameras.
yes, bro.
Literally.
God. I'm like, bro, like, and I get it. He's an open kid. Like he's talking about like his journey with
That's his
God
life. Yeah. Yeah.
and the fact that he's like 21 now. So he's like learned to forgive his dad because of course when you're fucking 12 and this happens and now you're in poverty and all these things, like all of it makes sense. It's
Plus,
cool.
he's
But
rich now.
but he was a quarterback, and they said quarterback with daddy. Oh, hold on. We can hype this up. I'm just like, bro, leave this man's father alone.
Please.
Leave this man's dad alone. Leave him alone. Leave his family
alone.
Leave
everybody alone.
God, bro. So, anyways.
Yeah, it's a bit much. That's why I like women's sports because they don't do that as much on the women's side of things. But what I will say is they do pick a couple. They do pick a couple people, and like I swear to God, if they talk about Aaliyah Boston, if y'all don't know who that is, Aaliyah Boston is the forward on the Indiana Fever. She plays with Caitlin Clark. Aaliyah Boston went to University of South Carolina, and I guess at some point, like she wasn't born in America. I think she was born like in Barbados, Haiti, like some Virgin Island. And they talk about that girl like she was like a runaway refugee who like came to America on a bus. Like they just cannot like get over the fact that she came to America to play basketball. Like her parents brought her here or something like that. Like it's a very like normal ass story, but
yeah, it's just like the what is the Sandra Bullock movie?
Oh my gosh, The Blind Spot. Oh
yeah,
my
Blind Side. And he was like, bro, my life wasn't that bad.
It was not like that. He was like I literally was
I'm
fine.
not saying it was great, but it wasn't that bad. Like he
was like,
this shit up.
I was poor. Like, I was not like devastatingly poor.
Yeah,
like I was not. Yeah, you know the little brother. I think he's come out and said like,
yeah, this is bullshit.
This is some crap. Yeah, or he wrote a book or something.
Yeah, but also making money off of it. Anyways, let's make some money that doesn't go into our pockets, but we're gonna make the money anywhere. And we're gonna go to the ad break real quick. We'll be right back after the ads. All right, everybody, welcome back into the Power 2 podcast.
Where we talk about the power of the NFL draft.
Yes. The power of
tragic stories.
It said, hey, I know you about to get drafted, but like nobody in your family got shot.
like are you sure you don't have anything like a clubbed foot?
Did you sell
maybe
drugs? Did your mama sell a little
foster
drugs?
homes?
Did you? Yeah, nothing.
Like nothing.
Happy home.
Food insecurity.
Get out of here.
Both of your parents are together. Wait, hold on.
Get out of here. No.
Stop it.
Can we lie?
And I already know that they're going to drive that story into the ground. The kid who plays for Oregon, the black kid who plays for Oregon. Well, they're all black.
Who takes care of his siblings?
No.
That's not Oregon?
No. Well, it might be. But this one, he's like brothers with somebody else on another team. Like his like this white dude.
Troy Franklin and Bo.
That one. They are going to run that story into the ground.
That's because Bo Nix had a decent year this year.
Oh my God.
Oh Lord.
They keep calling him Bo Nix's brother. And I'm like, can we not?
Okay, to be fair, and I could be wrong, I do think he's adopted.
No. Bo Nix's
Am I wrong
family
about that?
took him in. Yes, Bo Nix's family took him in when he was like 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
Like that did happen. I just think it's so hilarious how they're just like Bo Nix's brother, and they just like with no context whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're just like Bo Nix's brother, whatever his name is.
So
And
it's Michigan State. I don't know if the kid is good enough to get drafted, but they did it just in the regular college season. His mom passed, and he's like 20 or 21, and so he became the legal guardian of his siblings. While playing football, and wow, good on him.
Wow.
Great. Like, that's a very tough situation.
Yeah.
That's all they talked about for like 2
Of course. Every time he touched the ball, he's the guardian of his siblings.
Literally, all they talked about for 2 weeks. There's one more that I was just thinking of that's gonna go crazy. That they're gonna be like doing numbers on. Which one is it? Oh, Ohio State. And this is like genuinely sad, but they did it a lot because Ohio State has a wide receiver. His name is Carnell Tate. He's going to be a first round pick in 2 years, or maybe even next year, not 2025, the next year. He's really, really good. Like really, really, like he's really good, but you wouldn't know he's really good because Ohio State has 2 really other good players. So like,
of course, right.
So like, he's really good. He's like prototypical size 2, like 6'2", 215 or something like that. He's good. But coming into, so I think he came to Ohio State in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the summer, his mom died.
Mm.
And I don't remember how. Maybe it was cancer. Maybe it was a drive-by shooting. I don't remember which one. And I know that those are two. I know those are so stark. I know those are so stark. I promise you it's one of the two. I promise. I did not make that up. I just don't. I know those are so stark. It's so stark. I'm sorry. I don't remember which one.
Because I'm Googling it now. What's his name?
Carnell Tate.
Carnell?
Yeah, Carnell. Carnell Tate.
I'm so sorry. I have to Google this now.
I know.
Because you said cancer or a drive-by shooting. I know.
That's such
it was a drive-by shooting.
Yes. So, oh God.
Oh my God. God.
Yeah, he came to Ohio State in January, and then over the summer that happened, and he came back. He's like he came back for like fall camp, and everyone wasn't sure if he was coming back because his mom just passed, and so. That was last year. This is his second year. And this year, Ohio State played Northwestern in Chicago. So it was his first time being back in Chicago. Yeah. They ate that shit up. And here's like, I get why some of this happens, but especially like in the moment, like his first time being back in Chicago, I get the little feature, and Ohio State knew that this meant a lot to him. Like it was his best game of his career because they intentionally fed him the ball. They wanted him to shine. I think his family So like in the moment, right? Like, and then again, literally his first time playing in Chicago since his mom passed, right? Get it. When he's a first round pick, they're going to eat it up.
That is the only thing they will talk about.
That's it.
That is we might not even know his name for real. We might just only know about how his mom passed away. It's the same thing with Parcell or whatever his last name is on the 49ers. If they bring up that child was shot in the chest I'm sorry, more time.
His fault. He tried to fight the dude with the gun.
We have got to move on. We're moving on.
He tried to fight the dude with the gun. He's like, oh, big NFL player. I'm invincible. Nigga, lay down. You got insurance. I'm sorry. He tried to fight the dude with the gun. That's dumb. He did. He admitted to it. He tried to fight him. He said, me, big, strong NFL player. What's a gun? And he got shot. Him getting robbed is not his fault. Lay the fuck down. I was the watch. Why are you fighting him?
I don't know what is the more ridiculous thing I just experienced. You saying either cancer or a drive-by shooting or what you just said. Oh my God, we are moving on. So, Coach Sarkisian is apparently receiving NFL interest, which I find to be astronomical when he did everything he could to lose that Arizona State game. But okay, what?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not trying to say too much. I'm just gonna say okay. And when they get bounced out of the second round, I'm sure he will be done coaching at Texas. So okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, because we've been here for 30 minutes already, I'm gonna get rid of the bill recap. We're gonna go into our 2 minute drill. This is gonna be 12 seconds, unless you have something to say on top of it. I just wanted to highlight that the Big Ten went 5-1 over the SEC. And again,
Absolutely.
it may only be this year. I don't think it's going to be this year.
I don't think
I
so.
really do think the sport's going to even out. I've talked about this before, but this was just, it was a banner year for me. It was a banner year for me because sometimes the things that match your eyes don't always happen. And I am not burying them. I am not putting the tombstone on their grave. I am just admitting that they had a bad year this year, and they weren't great last year either. Will they be good next year? I don't know. Maybe. But this year, it wasn't them. The arguably the best team in the conference, or at least the one that went the furthest, is from the Big 12. And people can still do the Oregon Pac-12 thing. I can do the Texas Big 12 thing. That's a Big 12 team. And yeah, you can say it. A Pac-12 team went in the Big 10. Fine. I get it. Fine. But the Big 10 was largely accepting of Oregon. SEC, Texas sucks. Texas isn't going to do
anything. They wanted no parts of Texas. Yeah.
They're going to go 7-5.
Yeah.
First year, they're the first in the playoffs. Beat everyone but Texas, but Georgia. Georgia spanked them, which we're going to get to in a second. But
child, I know.
Yeah.
I fully believe that Texas has made it as far as Texas has made it because the CFP cannot handle an SEC team not being in the top 4. And I'm going to just leave it at that. I do not believe in the SEC supremacy. I feel like I made that pretty clear on this podcast that I find it to be so disingenuous with the football that I saw from some of these SEC schools versus what I saw from other schools. There's just no way that you are about to pee on my leg and tell me that it's rain and that this is the best that college football has to offer. When Alabama is getting beat by Vanderbilt, you're not about to tell me that this is the best football that I can watch is from the SEC. It's just not this year, not for me. Sorry. So that's, I was looking at that too, of just SEC teams just getting, I mean, at the end of the day, they still have the most points scored in bowl games, but the Big Ten is behind them by 7 points. The ACC is right there as well. This whole SEC football supremacy stuff, I'm over it. Genuinely.
Yeah. So, and again, I will, very much admit when it flips, if it flips. But for this year, it hasn't. No. Okay, so I want to do a couple of quick things. First thing I want to do is I just want to talk through, before we get to the nitty-gritty actual on-the-field previews, I want to ask, which will maybe be a quick question, what is your ideal natty matchup for whatever reason? And then the second thing I want to do is just go very briefly, because all 4 of these coaches will be first time winners of the national championship.
Oh,
and 2 of them are Black, and so one of them, because they play each other, will be the first to ever be first Black coach to ever be in the national championship game as a head coach.
One of the coaches, I didn't know he was Black, so I love that for him.
And then also could potentially be the first Black head coach to win a national championship. So there's a couple of things outside of just that, right? There's a couple of things that this means. So I want to go through some of the things that this means for each coach. But the first one, for whatever reason, what is your ideal natty matchup?
That is such an easy question to answer. Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Okay.
Y'all know there's not really a planet where I'm rooting for Texas. I'm rooting for Quinn Ewers and all of his success, but Ohio State. And then I'm rooting for Marcus Freeman specifically as a coach. I just love him. I love his vibe. You can tell that he has created a very good environment for these players to play with the amount of freedom that they play with. And he just seems like he has created a good environment. So I'm rooting for Notre Dame. Also, why would I root for the team that knocked my team out of the playoffs? Sorry, Penn State. Sorry about you. So yes, that is mine.
That's fair. So unfortunately, mine is the same.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ohio State, Penn State.
So here's the thing. That would be great for my brand personally. It'd be great for the podcast, but
You don't want to try to beat them twice.
no,
Yeah.
I don't. We just
Yeah.
saw what happens. And
Yeah.
Ohio State, Penn State is always a weird game.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I am true to myself. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't say all the things that I said about Ryan Day. I'm not going to pretend like I just changed my opinion on him. And the most Ryan Day thing ever would be to lose to Penn State for the first time in his career in the goddamn national championship.
That would be Ryan Day at his Ryan Dayest.
He has never lost to Penn State.
Yeah.
That would be the most, and so
Yeah.
I just can't stomach seeing them. I would be such a nervous wreck, like because it's just like we should beat them. Don't get me wrong. We
for
should beat them.
all intents and purposes.
We beat them a lot for
Yeah.
a very similar reason.
He's like, we have beat them for decades.
Better than we played when we beat them this year. But I just see it in front of me. Ryan Day's first loss to Penn State as a head coach in the national. I just can't stomach that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be a part of it at all. Keep thee away from me, Satan. I want that. So Notre Dame.
Yeah. Screaming.
Yeah. Notre Dame. Please, for the love of all things holy, please Notre Dame. And I really hate that because
two biblical references in 5 minutes.
I hate that because the two Big Ten would be amazing. And Yep. So that's mine. Also, I don't personally care about this because it's not money in my pocket, but everyone loves to mention the media frenzy and Ohio State, Notre Dame in the national championship with those fan bases and those people in the Midwest and all of that.
Clinical insanity.
That would go, that's going to be nuts.
That's going to be
nuts.
The most ridiculous environment that it's probably ever been curated by college sports.
I literally was talking to one of my friends who grew up Catholic, and they said, if you're Catholic, you root for Notre Dame. And so legitimately just two of the largest fan bases because Ohio State is the school in Ohio and it graduates 50,000 people a year and it's just a huge brand. So people hop on the bandwagon. And then Notre Dame, which literally, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's every Catholic. I'm not Catholic, but let's just say an overwhelming majority of all Catholics would be rooting for Notre Dame. That is nuts. Those two fan bases are, yeah. So,
I think I just heard
care about that, but I know some people are going to be, that's going to be a thing. So
that environment's going to be insane. I am not a college football historian. Is this a matchup that has happened before, like Ohio State, Notre Dame?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, I'm not a historian. I don't know if it's do y'all play each other consistently, or would this be the first time in a while?
So we just played each other we just had a home 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
We don't play as much as you would like for these two brands that are relatively close to each other, but we do play.
Okay. Well, we are fully talking about that like it is a foregone conclusion, and we do actually have two games that have to happen before we get there.
It's not a foregone conclusion. It was just what's your ideal matchup, and for both of us, it's that one, but for totally different reasons. Okay, so let's run through.
And I just feel like that also would be such a Ryan Day thing to lose to Michigan and not win the Big Ten, but somehow win y'all a national championship in the same year. Right? That would be such a Ryan Day thing.
And then it's literally so I had this wrong. I thought Ryan Day was going to spite me in a different way. What he's going to do is he's going to win a national championship, and then he's going to be like, I can't believe y'all care about the Michigan game. It's going to drive me nuts. Because the Michigan game does still matter.
It does.
He is just
But he's going to be like, at least I brought y'all a natty, though.
For literally half of the fan base, he's going to make that rivalry nothing.
Yeah.
He's going to make it nothing. And that's what he wants. He wants the rivalry to mean nothing. And so then we're really going to sound that they're really going to think we're the lunatic fringe because we're still upset that he hasn't beat Michigan. And they're going to be like, but he just won you a national championship. And I'm going to want to throw everything I own out the window.
Okay, so not everything you own, but yeah, I was just saying, I was like, I would
never throw my PS5 out the window.
I was just saying, I was like, man,
work laptop though.
The work laptop is crazy.
They'll give me another one. They'll give me another one.
It was like not my laptop, but y'all's laptop for sure.
Yeah, it's out the
But
window.
yeah, I just was like, the way I was looking at it, I'm just kind of like, Ohio State, in my opinion, does kind of have the best chance of walking away with the trophy this year, which is
Yeah.
crazy. And I saw somebody tweet, they were like, Ohio State will be the first ever college football team to win a championship the same year the fan base was calling for a firing of the head coach. And I was just
And
like,
I
you know,
contend, and I will say this forever, that we are the reason that this is happening. Not me individually, not like as a collective. I believe we lit a fire, like, and I know we did because they talk about it.
yeah,
Literally, there's a certain, and I'm not religious at all, and I didn't even go.
I can't tell.
And I didn't even
Well,
go.
you were
I grew
rebuking
up.
Satan.
I grew up in the church. Some of the things just the surgery. Like I would have to surgically remove them from my brain. But
Listen, we are black kids in America.
yeah. Well, no, like I really grew up in the church.
It
I
was
was
an
2 steps away from.
indoctrination. It would be the word we would use.
Yeah, I was 2 steps away from a cult.
Yeah.
Like not me, my parents, but whatever. That's not the point.
So
So
okay. So anyway,
so what was I gonna say? Oh, so Ohio State is like super Christian right now, like beyond Christian, like lost to Michigan and players talking about God's plan or whatever. And so a bunch of people were like, I miss when we had real football players. The Christians on the team are soft and like all this stuff, right?
yeah.
And so, because it's like so many things. And literally, like not that long ago, one of the players in an interview mentioned like how people were like talking bad about them for being Christians. The players saw it. The coaches saw it. So like I'm not being like delusion of grandeur when I say, in my opinion, that is the one of the things that makes Ohio State great. We've never settled. We get coaches fired. We put players in the transfer portal. Like if you cannot handle the pressure of Ohio State,
Get out.
and I don't always say it's like a good thing because there's a part of the fan base that like posts people's address and like does death threats. That's too far.
We're doing a lot. Yeah.
The collective roar and the collective willingness to express your feelings and not settle is why Ohio State is legitimately the only program that has never had a down period. We don't have the most national championships, but we've never had 2, 3, 4 years where we've under 500. We've never had that. The last time we were under 500 was 2011, and it's because our coach got unjustly fired for something that's legal today, and they hired someone that wasn't ready.
Yeah.
And they still won like 6 games, I think. I think they went 6-7 or something like that. So it's just like Ohio State has never had a lull, and it's because the fan base won't accept it. And so I genuinely believe that the roar of the fan base sparked this, and it is going to like Ohio State is one of the only schools, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to happen. But Ohio State's one of the only schools, in my opinion, that have the ability to have a Saban-esque dynasty. No one's going to have.
I agree. I agree.
But if Saban won 6 in 12 years, like Ohio State, I think is the only school that could win like 4 and 9, or like whatever the number is, right?
Yeah.
And so if that happens, I think it's because we finally snapped something into this guy and into the thing. And winning a national championship does set a standard, and it sets like you know how to do it, and then
a precedent. Yeah.
And these things kind of build, and recruits and all this stuff comes.
Yeah.
And these kind of things, and so yeah, like. So yeah, we called for the coach to be fired, but calling for the coach to be fired and not accepting 4 straight losses to Michigan and not accepting 4 years without the Big Ten championship is why they're playing so well. Because if we were just ho hum about it, they wouldn't have changed anything, right? Like if Ohio State fans weren't in the middle of the season yelling about the fact that we know our defensive line coach doesn't listen to our defensive coordinator, I don't think that would have been addressed. We literally got a defensive coordinator demoted mid-season 3 years ago, demoted mid-season because he was so bad. Like we as a collective, because of how much we care and the weight of our voices and things like that. And we're not the only ones, right? Like Tennessee got a whole coach fired.
Yeah.
Like they hired a coach. Tennessee got so mad that they rescinded the offer.
They were like, never mind.
Yeah.
Never mind.
So
not
like,
you.
So yeah, people make their jokes or whatever. But if Ohio State wins the national championship, it's because the fans didn't settle when the program was.
And thank you for coming to Jordan's TED Talk. Yeah. I think y'all are going to win it.
I hope so.
Truthfully. And I said this
I'm
from
not going to get overconfident. Ryan Day's
yeah,
still head coach.
he is. But I said that from the beginning. I was kind of like, now that I'm looking at this bracket, it's looking real Ohio State-ish.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, at this point, y'all are the most consistent across the board, if that makes sense. Like you have ridiculous levels of talent in all areas. And I don't feel like that about the other teams. Like I feel like the other teams would have to work a little bit harder. So I don't know, man. We'll see. It'll be a good game though.
Yeah. Ultimately, the thing with Ohio State, and this is just true, right? Especially with Georgia being out, who hasn't lived up to the hype, but they're still Georgia, and you always thought maybe they could go on a run. Ohio State is legitimately far and away the best team. The problem with Ohio State is there is a chance that they have the worst coach.
I would.
And it's not.
I don't think. I think Coach Sark is the worst coach,
but the thing is, they like Ohio State's coach could have the worst performance.
Yeah, and he does have that really bad tendency to coach not to lose instead of coaching to win, and that is
what he hasn't done the last 2 games.
Not the vibes you want right now. Yeah, yeah. Whereas Marcus Freeman, he coaches to win every game. He's coaching to win.
The one thing that I will say about Ryan Day though is he's a bully, and I think he smells blood in the water. Like if I had to tell you that Ohio State's going to win, I think he smells blood. I don't think he respects any of these coaches that are left. And
I don't think so either.
Blood in the water, and he's a fucking bully, and I think that's what does it. Because even like I'm telling you, Georgia's not that good. We just saw it. If Ohio State played Georgia in the Natty, Georgia wins. Ryan Day shits his pants. He respects Georgia. He respects Kirby Smart.
Yeah, Kirby Smart. Yeah.
I'm sorry. He does not respect Penn State. He does not respect Dan Lanning. Sorry. I mean, he didn't respect Dan Lanning. We saw what he just did to him, but he does not respect Penn State. He doesn't respect Notre Dame, and he sure as hell doesn't respect Texas.
No.
And he's a fucking bully, and if he wins it, it's because of that. It's because he won't coach scared because there's no one that scares him.
In
like
this particular
Michigan scares him.
Yeah.
And like Georgia scares him, and like Bama scares him. And you can say it's right or wrong. It's one of those just weird things, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Ryan Day has a Michigan problem. And everyone going into the playoffs, I wasn't confident that this would happen because we hadn't seen it. But the one thing that I always pushed on, me and Dante took a 10-minute segment and argued about it for 40 minutes, is I pushed against him talking about Ryan Day as a coach because it's like, he does show up in a lot of these games.
Yeah.
He has a Michigan problem. And he has a margins problem, right? Like we lost a game because he was too loyal to his kicker, and the kicker sucked. And the
kicker's not good. Yeah.
But that's one of those things that comes with like having a coach that's not an utter asshole, which is so hard because like I hate that you're a good person because I really want you fired. like him being a good person makes it harder to follow him. Like I mean, like he's a really I really do like him. Almost every time I criticize him, I try to bring up that I do like him and I think he's a good person and I think that he's a good leader of men. He just fucking sucks at his job sometimes and he gets paid too much money to do it. But like, oh god, like it was so easy to see Urban gone. Urban fucking sucks. Urban's an asshole. Nobody liked Urban. When Urban left, it was like, God, thank fucking God. Like he's awful. Like
yeah.
Anyways.
What a mess. Okay.
So oh god, man. Yeah.
This is going to be a time just
in general because we keep skipping over this. What this means for each coach. So Marcus Freeman.
Yes.
I think it means the least for him because he is the youngest coach, but it is a big slap in the face to Brian. First of all, any national, like when I say less, just compared to other things, like it'll make sense when I tell you the other things about the other people, but he's been coaching the least. But the one big thing that this means for him, outside of course being the first Black coach ever to do it, and he's Asian, he's Blasian, first Asian coach to ever do it, and it would be a huge
first coach of color.
I wanted to specifically say that because he specifically likes to highlight both of his.
Oh yeah.
But it's also a huge slap in the face to Brian Kelly, who left that job because he felt like he couldn't win a national championship there, went to LSU because he felt like he could win a national championship, and he can. Not that he's a good coach or not. every coach who's ever coached at LSU wins a national championship. If Brian Kelly doesn't win a national championship, he's going to be the last. He's going to be the first out of 4 or 5 straight coaches to not win a natty there. Even the bad ones win national championships. They luck into a national championship.
Awkward.
And so that would be a huge slap in the face to Brian Kelly to say you couldn't do it here, but it was possible.
But I can. Yeah.
And I mean, God, I hate Notre Dame, but to be a black coach at Notre Dame that won a national championship,
I just love us, like, because we really do some audacious stuff, man, don't we?
Yeah, that would be crazy. That man would have his 7th kid that night.
Bro, he needs to get off his wife. Oh my gosh.
Please. He's in the football building 80 hours a week. When does he have time? Every time he sees her, he gives her a baby.
Gets her pregnant. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyways.
Okay, James Franklin. James Franklin is one, in my opinion, he's one of the most misunderstood coaches because he's small game James, right? Like, he is the first coach, and Vanderbilt had a good year this year, but before that, he's like the first coach to ever win at Vanderbilt. Like, he won at Vanderbilt. He turned Penn State around out of a lot of sanctions. He turned Penn State into, like, Penn State was almost Nebraska. If we're being honest, Penn State was almost Nebraska. They were almost a team that could only sit and talk about what they did in the 80s and the 90s. And yes, they haven't won a national championship. And yes, they've only won the Big Ten once because they had to play Ohio State every year. And he's small.
It is what it is.
He absolutely does have his problems. But he also wins 11 games almost more than he doesn't. Like yes, he loses to the teams, but he also almost always beats who he should. He rarely almost gets upset. He beat Auburn in back-to-back games, and no one thought he could do it because they're an SEC team. Like, he is a good coach. He has some flaws, particularly with hiring offensive coaches. He just can't do it to save his life. And I also think that Penn State's partially a harder job than people think it is. I think he would be much better if he would have left and taken the USC job. But this would be, like, it never got as far as the Ryan Day stuff, but it got close. A lot of Penn State fans were not happy with him. A lot of Penn State fans were tired and felt like they hit the ceiling. And his program was the biggest beneficiary. Everyone said it. It's true statistically. It is true in general of the 12-team playoff, because for the longest time, Penn State was the first team in that next bracket, right? You would say Alabama, right, on a given year. And then did you say Alabama, small gap, Ohio State, Georgia, LSU on a certain year, whatever, small gap, PennTate. Like they were always that team that's like, oh, they could almost do it.
You're so close. And
like him winning, that'd be big for them. Their first since the 80s.
That fan base would tear shit down
for him. And also, of course, the first black coach to ever do it. So,
yeah, I think he has a similar, like you said, a similar plight that Ryan Day has, where you're not just coaching a team, but you are also satisfying one of the most insane fan bases that exists. So, love that for him, truthfully.
Steve Sarkisian.
Yes, that guy.
His is more of a personal redemption story, and I hope that I don't get this wrong because I don't remember all of it, but I believe he was essentially fired from USC because he was an alcoholic. Let me Google that. That's not something.
Okay, so I'm Googling it because I just don't want to put crazy stuff on this man's name. Hold on.
Like, that wasn't all of it, but that was a big piece of it. Like, he very much had some, like...
Oh, yes. It said he showed up to a preseason event, apparently intoxicated, slurred his words, used inappropriate language at the booster event. He apologized the next day. He appeared to be intoxicated at team meetings. He didn't show up for practice. He was placed on leave. And then he later sued USC, claiming that he was fired instead of being allowed to seek treatment. And USC denied the claim, saying he repeatedly denied having an alcohol problem. And since then, he has been sober.
Yes. So for him, it's obviously right. First time as a head coach, first, thing, but it's also like a personal redemption story. I have mixed feelings about it because, right, there are certain coaches, right? Let's say Marcus Freeman. right? Let's say James Franklin. Let's
Black coaches are not going to be able to show up nowhere drunk and be able to get another head coaching job.
yeah, right. Let's say Mike Loxley. So I do have some feelings about it, but at the same time, it did happen, right? And you do give him credit for getting his life together and
Everybody
for
deserves second chances.
fighting addiction is a disease, right? Fighting
Yeah.
through that.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, he changed his life, right? He goes to the Nick Saban rehabilitation program. I think he won at least one natty there, and then he gets the Texas job, and he immediately turns them around. Like, I think we forget how bad Texas was before he was there, and I won't say that they were awful, right? Like, Texas wasn't awful, but they were
just mid.
They were never this, right? They would have the worst 10 win season ever, like, you know what I mean? And so, he that like literally like, and then you also add outside the personal redemption story, you add winning Texas's first national championship since I think Vince Young, but then also doing it in the SEC
in their first year.
You couldn't do it in the first year. I mean, that's huge. And that would be Texas it's hard to say a sleeping giant. It's largely just Texas is so out of alignment because, like, they fired a coach because he didn't want to make his black players sing a racist song. So, like, their boosters and some of the things they're super traditional, some things that kind of hold them back and a little too much power in boosters and things like that. But for whatever reason, he seems to be one who can sort of get them into some sort of alignment, and he is killing it in Texas. He's doing he prepared for the SEC, right? Like, whether this is sustainable or not, he got the offensive line, he got the defensive line, he did these things, and this is not a perfect roster. There are definitely some holes, which is why we'll get to. But if he were to be able to beat Ohio State, beat Ohio State, win 11 games in the SEC, and win a national championship, like,
that's iconic.
Yes,
that's iconic. Like, my favorite thing about him is that he's married to a black woman.
Is he?
He is.
Sorry?
He is. His wife is black, and she's gorgeous. Like, his wife is black. Yeah.
Interesting.
And, behind every good man is a strong black woman.
Listen, that's how you I'm not gonna say that this is one of those things that you'll get, but I want to, because it's a podcast medium, I gotta mind my words here. Not that being attractive is all whatever and things like that, but a lot of times people like this, if they marry a black woman, they're always gorgeous. Like, they're all like fucking Dirk Nowitzki, his wife.
Oh my gosh, stunning.
Like, and it's just it's, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever. We'll not get stuck on that. But and then I don't know that I have to say anything about Ryan Day. Like, we've kind of done.
We've talked about Ryan Day. We know what that looks like. Yeah.
This would be, and like, listen, you cannot erase the mistakes that he's made. You can't erase the mistakes that any of these coaches have made. But for him to be able to adjust mid-season to literally get off the mat, right? Like, to literally get off the mat and fight back and win, that would be huge for him. And I genuinely think that, because the thing about that I've always said about Ryan Day is he always learns. He just learns a year late. And Ohio State is not a job you can learn a year late.
Y'all don't have the patience.
Give him the 6 years he's had, and even though he's still making mistakes, and even though he's still learning, he gets a national championship. He's not going to be Saban. Nobody's going to be Saban. But he has a chance to really, like, take this thing somewhere.
Yeah.
He has because he does get better. He does, except against Michigan. But
here's the thing: what if they win the Natty, and then the next year it's like,
but
we also, on your ass, Michigan.
But also, I think winning a Natty takes some of the pressure off of Michigan.
Exactly.
And so it's just so this. I mean, we've done a lot with him. I'll just say it's huge. I think everyone is gonna but I think everyone understands what this means for Ryan Day. And then also, you still have Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs,
like,
for next year.
Hello. It will be cool though, because it'll be y'all's first Natty in a decade. Yes. So that's iconic. Love that for y'all. And I do 100% agree. No one's ever gonna do what Nick Saban did, because Nick Saban is the king of everything. But if there was a program that was positioned to be dynastic, it's Ohio State. You guys have all the pieces, right? At this moment, you have a coach who, if you guys do win a national championship, now has proven that he's able to do that. You guys have amazing recruits. Obviously, you're Ohio State. Everybody wants to play for Ohio State. You guys have, a system in place that I just think that this could be the beginning of y'all's next era. If that happens for y'all, because I can't say that these other three teams, like I could say with full confidence Ohio State will be here next year. Yes. I can't say that about the rest of these teams. No. Maybe Notre Dame, but I can't really say that about the rest of these teams, that they would 100% be here next year.
I honestly think the most likely would be Texas.
Yeah, probably.
But like, and it's just a sort of state of the SEC. Some of their better players are still young, and they have like coming back next year. Texas, depending on how you feel about Drew Allen and how you feel about Arch, they have the best quarterback coming back.
Yeah, fair.
You should give it to Penn State because Drew Allen would be a third-year starter coming back. But if Penn State makes a national championship game, he may not come back. Like,
he may get drafted. Yeah,
he's going to come back, but that's not official until the season's over. So,
exactly.
Yeah, and like I never thought it was going to be Georgia because I don't like the way Kirby runs his program. And for me, Kirby always felt more like Urban than Saban, and that he runs hot and then it collapses. And honestly, he's doing what Urban did because he's hiring his friends, which is what Urban did when he started to collapse. And Urban still had a couple of good years and they made it. And then it just bit by bit, it started to unravel.
Spiral out of control,
because they stopped holding the reins of the program. They started hiring their friends. They started not developing as well. And then the other thing that you saw with both of them is the crime started happening more, right? Like
the players, they have no control over them.
I always felt that Kirby was more Urban than he is Saban. Like I never felt that he had the ability. And Ryan Day is not Saban. For the millionth time, Ryan Day is not Saban.
Nobody.
But in this new landscape, if there's anyone who, let me just put it this way. If you go the next 10 years and you have Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Steve Sarkisian, Dan Lanning, all these, James Franklin, Marcus, all these coaches, if you say the 90s are more spread out, but one coach wins more than the others, Ryan Day could be the most likely candidate if he can get out of his head. And if he wins a natty, maybe he never reverts back because of the confidence this gives him in the proof of concept and things like that.
Yeah.
But I hate to say it. I truly hate to say it because he hasn't been doing it long enough, and I'm terrified that we play Penn State and he loses to Penn State. Jesus Christ. All right, Penn State.
Okay.
Penn State, Notre Dame.
Pre-game power sweep. We are here, people. They play each other. Yes. I don't know why I feel like this game is about to get on my nerves.
It is. It's.
I just feel like it's just about to get on my nerves. I can't explain why. It's about to get on my nerves.
Yeah, and
that's the only way I can put it.
And the worst. So it's hard to do squared, but in our notes, I tried to say strength on weakness squared.
Is that what that is? Okay. I was like, what is?
Yeah, this game is strength on weakness squared, and that they both have really good defenses and they both have mediocre offenses, and they have to play each other.
Yeah.
So the winner of the game is who scores the most points, but whose offense do you trust? Especially against the other team's defense. Like
exactly.
Like Riley Leonard forgot how to throw the ball. He beat Georgia by running. Do you think Penn State's going to let the quarterback run the ball on them? But Penn State is a good running team, but like they don't have any wide receiver of note, and Notre Dame has a great secondary. So who is Drew Allen throwing the ball to? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean Drew Allen. I see Drew Allen calling his own number a lot more in this particular situation.
If he runs the ball, that may be something. But that's the thing. Like when you look at how they want to play, right? Penn State, they're both going to want to stop the run, and they're both good at that, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Penn State has good linebackers. Linebackers are the one who typically stops quarterback run. Notre Dame wants to run the quarterback because they can't throw right now. Penn State doesn't have any wide receivers. Notre Dame has a great secondary. So how are they going to be able to throw? Like, who are they throwing to? And yes, they have Tyler Warren, but I've said it once and I'll say it again. One great player, even a tight end, rarely wins you a game.
Yeah,
right?
no,
like,
of course.
Brock Bowers wasn't winning Georgia games. He was putting them over the edge because they had a great defense. When you couldn't score and you could bet that Brock Bowers was going to give you 2 touchdowns, they might win 14-10 because you couldn't score them. But it wasn't him alone. Like, Tyler Warren can't do it alone. And so, and then like Notre Dame, their running back may be injured, but Penn State, Abdul Carter may be injured.
Yeah, I'm looking, I'm like
who was playing in this game?
What's going on? Like, what's going to happen? And that's why I feel like I'm going to be irritated because it's going to be a whole bunch of non-offense. Like, I just feel like we are going to be watching three and out. Maybe a couple of go forward on fourth down, depending on field positioning and all of that. But like, I just feel like because these teams are so, their talent is very much heavily concentrated in the defensive area. I'm just kind of like, how are they going to score? Like, or this is going to be like a game of kickers. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not going to, I don't know. So I will say that I trust Notre Dame's offense just a pinch more, but that also might just be my own like personal bias. But I do trust them just a pinch more. And I feel like they can be a little bit more punishing than Penn State. So I don't know. Because that was one thing I told you when I was at Penn State was that their offense was the one thing that did not impress me. I was impressed by certain people. Like, I think their quarterback is fine, but I was not impressed by the overall like system.
Even talking offense, Georgia scored 23 points. And if we remember, Notre Dame scored 23 points against Georgia. If we remember how it happened, they kicked 3 field goals. That's 9 points. But they were the only team in the country that made less than 50% of their field goals. So going 3 for 3 on 40-yard kicks was huge.
Was like a big deal,
then they get a sack fumble on like the 10 or the 9. So one play slant, get a touchdown. And then the other was a kickoff return touchdown.
Oh yeah.
So they got in the field goal range 3 times and had to rely on a kicker who wasn't good all year to make kicks, and he did. But their offense was hoping and praying that their bad kicker made it, a sack fumble, and a kickoff return touchdown.
That's not offense. Like,
so it's just like, oh, and like the Penn State Penn State Boise game was a lot closer than the final score indicated. We talked about it, and we didn't say this in our recap, and we probably should have, but I'm pretty sure Boise State's quarterback threw for 300 yards on Penn State. And we talked about this, right? We're like, everyone's underrating him, and no, he's not great, but he's decent. And if they go to sell out for the run, he's going to be able to throw the ball. And he did. And they made some mistakes. I think they fumbled. Like, a couple of things happened where they had
a lot of penalties. Boise State had penalties out.
But that game was closer than the final score.
304 yards. But he also threw 3 interceptions.
Yeah, it was an intercept. Like, you can't do that.
You can't.
So it's like, I don't know where the offense is coming from. It's strength on both sides. Squared.
Yeah,
it's not strength on strength. It's strength on weakness squared. And both strengths of the defenses and both weaknesses of the offenses. And then they also have injuries to their best or second best player with Penn State, Abdul Carter, who may not play. And Notre Dame, Jeremiah Love will probably play, but he's injured. And their defensive tackle's out and their star corner is out, although he's been out for most of the season.
A while, yeah.
It's just, man, I don't know. All right. You got to pick it, though.
Oh, well, I did. I said Notre Dame.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, oh, gosh. 12, 19.
It's definitely going to be
I'm going to go Notre Dame 19-13.
I was about to say it's going to be like something stupid, like you said, like 14-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah. 19-13. And for those of you wondering, I did the math. That's why I was mumbling. 19 is 4 field goals, and a touchdown, or it's 2 touchdowns, but they try to go for 2 or they miss an extra point and 3 field goals. And then 13, we've seen 13 all the time.
It happens
a
often.
touchdown, 2 field goals. Like
100%.
so,
Ohio State and Texas. I'm sorry. I just have to laugh because I'm just like,
just a good team. And I've said this 3 times, and I hate saying it. This game, Ohio State will win this game if Ryan Day stays out of his way. And he's done it twice.
If he doesn't take his headset off.
2 good teams. And so I'm going to be going to some more detail because you all listeners deserve that, but I don't see how Texas can beat this team. And the most important thing that I keep bringing up, because everyone keeps forgetting about it because of the offensive explosion, these games have been lopsided because of the defense.
Yeah.
And the way Sarkisian calls plays is very similar to Dan Lanning and very similar to Tennessee. They all have quarterbacks who need to see it. They don't have quarterbacks who are anticipatory throwers.
They don't throw their teammates open. Yeah.
They all scheme routes open, right? Like they all are like and it's a very talented thing, right? It's like the McVay thing, the Sean McVay Shanahan tree thing. But there's a reason why only one of them has won a championship. Because when you get to the highest level and teams really, really game plan for it, they can take you out of your element. It's why, I mean, Shanahan has been to 3 Super Bowls and hasn't won any, and McVay won one when he was doing the least of that stuff that he'd ever done before. Yeah. And he had the best quarterback. I mean, he had Matthew Stafford, who's a fucking stud. Like Matthew Stafford has like one of the best arms the NFL's ever seen. Like, it's
actually kind of insane.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
So I was watching this video, right, and they were talking about Quinn Ewers and similar to Dylan and other things. Where it's like if you confuse him, he throws interceptions or he gets sacked.
He gets sacked, yeah.
Because he needs to see it. He's best when he knows it's going to be open and he just throws it. The thing is, the way Ohio State plays with their 3 safety lineup, where they move like. And so you all know I'm an Ohio State fan, so I want to explain something that I don't know if Ohio State's ever going to be able to do again, just by the nature of the players that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State has a corner. The dude was recruited to play corner who is so good in the nickel and just so good overall that he can play deep safety. He's playing slot corner and deep safety.
Period.
Because he is able to do both, that allows Caleb Downs, who is just one of the best players we've ever seen, to play anywhere. Like Caleb Downs is essentially, like we've all seen it, the best player in high school who just plays all over the place.
Yeah.
That's what Caleb Downs is doing. But he's able to do it because this corner can play deep safety. So they can rotate and Caleb can come down when they need to. And then the other safety is just one of the, like, solid is the best way to put it. He's just one of the most solid safeties I've seen. He's not the biggest. He's not the fastest. He's not the strongest. But he may damn well be the smartest.
Yeah. Like, and he's not making stupid mistakes.
He's never makes a mistake. And he's in his 5th year because he had some injuries. And he's just very solid.
Oh, and he's a veteran too?
Yes. He's a guy. So because of these 3 guys, they all can play the same position. They all can drop. They all can cover. And obviously Caleb is the best at everything, right? But you have one guy who's literally a slot corner. So he's like, when you need to play man, you bring him down. The other guy is fucking excellent at filling the run and like guarding like bigger players. His biggest weakness is probably straight man coverage, but you have a guy who can do that. So you just
move him around. Yeah.
Because of this, you never know what they're gonna do. And you never know where they're going to be. You never know who's dropped. And then on top of that, now they're dropping defensive ends into passing lanes, and they're blitzing, and then that's the other thing. The Lathan Ransom, the guy whose name I haven't said, he's an excellent blitzer. So his weakness is man coverage, but he's great at filling the run. He's an excellent blitzer. So like they all just like, I don't know that Ohio State will ever be able to do this again just by the nature of those 3 players. They're going to try to do it, and they're going to move some things and stuff. But like those three play so well together, and that's not talking about the fact that the defensive line is playing the best it's ever played. And is that going to stay? I don't know. It's hard to say. But one of the benefits that the defensive line is doing, which is why the defensive line coach needs to be fired, is they're finally rotating. Right? Like a lot of times Ohio State would lose games late. And it's like, man, why didn't they get no pressure?
Oh, yeah, because they were playing for too much. Yeah. You mentioned that.
60 of the 65 snaps.
Yeah.
And on snaps 65, how do you expect them to be fresh if they've already played 60 snaps? You have all these high recruits behind them. So now they're rotating. I think when they played Tennessee. I didn't see the snap numbers for Oregon. When they played Tennessee, they played like 35 snaps. They played half the snaps. And part of it was the blowout, but the other part of it was they rotated. They rotated a little less for Oregon, but they did still rotate. And so now the D-line is fresher. The linebackers are so as good as the offense has been, right? The fact that no one can guard Jeremiah Smith, the fact that you have the two running backs, that the offensive line has somehow played much above what it should with the injuries. How does Texas score?
I don't know.
That's my
I don't know. That's what I'm like.
I'm not sure Texas gets more than 17.
Even with Quinn playing his best football, I just don't see it. Like,
and Texas should have lost to Arizona State
and Texas was doing everything that they could to lose that game. They were doing everything they could. They'd reached into every bag and said, today we are losing. So if it wasn't for a piss poor officiating call, and that's really what it is, piss poor officiating, I'm going to leave it at that. If it wasn't for that, we're having a different conversation.
A bad call on 4th and 13.
And a horrible call on 4th and 13.
Yeah.
So to me, Texas is not ready to beat a team like Ohio State. And it's not that Texas isn't good or Texas doesn't have enough talent or anything like that. They're just not ready.
And right. So what is Ohio State going to do on defense? Aside from everything that we just talked about, I would be like, of course, they're going to watch other tape. They're going to look at it. But if I'm Ohio State, you know what I'm watching more than anything? Georgia. The Georgia team that just lost to Notre Dame smacked Texas twice.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just going to go, what are they doing?
What did they do?
We're better than them. So what did they do that you couldn't even move the ball?
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to be unfair to Texas. I do think that they're a good team. I don't think they can. If Tennessee couldn't do it, if Oregon couldn't do it, I don't know how Texas.
I don't think Texas is
offense.
They don't have enough talent. Like, they have talent, but they don't have enough of it spread out. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, Ohio State just has
50 yards on Arizona State.
Like,
they're gonna tell me they're gonna run like that.
And I'm sorry, even the way that
Arizona 170. Like to be honest, to beat Ohio State, they need to run for 170.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, even the way that Arizona State was able to come back in the way that they did, how y'all scored twice in 5 minutes?
Yeah.
That's not something that should happen to a team that is as good as they say that Texas is, because that's what I was witnessing. Was as cool as the comeback was for Arizona State, I just couldn't believe how much Texas was breaking down. Like, because Arizona State was coming back off of just like sheer will and determination from Scattaboo, but it was also like because the defense was like fully breaking down.
Right? Like that 60-yard grab by Scattaboo was on their All-American corner. You got by a running back.
You got what? So that's the thing, is that that's what I was really more so paying attention to, was like how Arizona's coming back because Texas is breaking down. Like, this is ridiculous. And I think they would have came back regardless, but the defense fully shit the bed. So the whole second half fully shit the bed. So you're not going to be able to come out and play that type of defense against Ohio State. Like,
and that's my thing. It's just like, aside, I don't even want to talk about Ohio State's offense, because I think currently to beat Ohio State, you have to do what Michigan did. Notre Dame could do that.
Yeah.
Penn State could do that. I don't believe Texas can do that.
They're not there yet.
And the fact that they had to play Notre Dame and Penn State is why I'm not just sitting here yelling that Ohio State's going to win at Natty. I think it was on Split Zone too. I was listening to another podcast, and so one of them said that the problem that Oregon and Tennessee and them have is they watch the Michigan game and they try to play that game because that's how you beat Ohio State, but they're not able to do it. The only one so far that's been able to do it is Michigan. And they're like, Texas is probably going to try that same thing because like, you don't want to get in a shootout with Ohio State. Like, you don't.
Of course not.
So they're going to try to do that, and Michigan's the only. But like, again, Notre Dame could do it. Like, Notre Dame could make Ohio State. I thought Notre Dame could make Ohio State live in hell, right? Penn State has made Ohio State a living hell for 5 years. Like, we've never had a fun game against Penn State. So Texas,
he said it is always awful.
I'm not trying to disrespect them. I think that they're a good team. I think they've made it this far. But I don't know how they score more than 17 points.
I agree.
And then to go to the offense, who's guarding Jeremiah? And who's guarding Jeremiah Smith? Like, because Jamar Muhammad was an All-American corner. Like, this is not like Texas corner is not going to be the first All-American corner that he's played and that he's just
against.
And Ohio State's doing the one thing that they always should be doing, which is they're throwing to run the ball. Ohio State gets in trouble when it tries to run the pass, which is an older mindset. Think about the Oregon game. Ohio State threw, and then when they get a 66-yard rush because they were trying to stop the pass. Like, that is when Ohio State's best. Because what happens, right, is when they're throwing the ball like that, then that run is backbreaking. And some of the best games in Ohio State history had one of those. The 85 yards to the heart of the South. Ezekiel Elliott through Alabama, right? Like, that's how Ohio State plays them in this. And so I don't know that it'll be the 40-17. Like, I don't know if it'll be.
No, I don't think. Yeah.
But you gotta score more than 17, and I don't know if they do that.
But also, I don't know because I didn't watch every Ohio State game this season. But is Ohio State like the type of team that, like, if Texas were to have a very similar like defensive breakdown, y'all are just gonna keep scoring? Like, y'all are just gonna keep piling on? Yeah. If anything like that happens, it's over for Texas. Yeah. It's over.
So
it's over. Their defense is what's going to lose that game for them.
Yeah, I think that, like, and that's the thing. Like, Dylan Gabriel, Ohio State dropped 4 picks. Legitimately dropped 4 picks. Do they drop them? And Dylan doesn't really throw picks, but he was so confused. Quinn's throwing them. I'm sorry, Quinn's throwing.
Quinn is throwing an interception like his life depends on it. Are you kidding? No shade to Quinn. Love you. No shade. But
I do not dislike Quinn at all. I think that, he has some clear flaws as all college quarterback does, but like he's solid. He's good. I like him. But yeah. And I hate it because I don't want to be confident, but literally it's going to be the same thing that I've said before. Ohio State can lose this game because they lost to Michigan, but Ohio State will lose this game because of Ryan Day.
That would be the only reason.
When you look at the field, you look at how the team's playing, you look specifically at this defense is designed to stop. Like, Ohio State had 3 of the better teams, but they've also played 3 teams that play into their defense. Like, Ohio State may have had more trouble with, like, a Boise or, like, some.
Okay, gotcha.
They played the 3 teams that their defense is legitimately designed to stop.
Yeah, I got you.
This defense, came from the Big 12. Like this coach has played the, like, it's just so it's just hard to, outside of Ryan Day turtling and trying to do the tough thing and stopping to just like throwing the ball to his playmakers. I don't know how Texas scores more than 17, and you need that to win.
Yeah. And also, Quinn Ewers, to me, he's the type of quarterback that once you shake him up, he is shook. And that could also potentially happen is that's that mental toughness of like being able to come back out there and make things happen. I think is still something that he's working on. So that's why I'm just kind of like, if you really get him shook in that first quarter or two, like unless Stark is like, no, fuck that, and he puts Arch in, but I don't see that happening.
But
So
I was just gonna say that, and this would be the last thing that I would say about this, unless you have anything else. Ohio State straight up lost the middle 8, right? Um, Oregon goes down there, scores a touchdown, gets a 2-point conversion. Go to half. They come out of half. They score a touchdown. 15 unanswered points. Ohio State gets the ball. They get a 3-and-out. If Oregon goes and scores again, that is 22 or 23 unanswered, depending on if they go for 2. And it's a 2-score game. Ohio State got 2 back-to-back sacks, made them punt 3-and-out. So like in the moment when the game was most like in the balance, like Oregon can score if you give them and you give them, they get the ball back to back, right? Because they got it, went to half,
they received it,
So there's no you there. You get the ball, you 3-and-out, which is what they did. If Oregon scores on 3 straight possessions, even though it's a 2-score game, they got all the momentum. When Oregon scored
all of it,
half, do you remember what that sideline looked like?
They were insane. They lost it.
Like, and Ohio State's defense just came out there and said, all right, offense, I understand you haven't clicked yet. 3-and-out, got the ball back. And then Ohio State's offense, I think, scored, and that was the game.
That's it.
So I think Ohio State, maybe Quinn comes in and they shake it up and they get confused and they score a touchdown or something like that. But I think the defense locks back in.
Yeah, I agree. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we shall see in 4 days, I believe, because this is all so spread out. So the next time y'all hear from us, the games would have already happened, I believe.
Yep, because they happen on Thursday and Friday.
Okay, yeah. So the next time you'll hear from us, you'll get our reactions to that. Hopefully we are correct. I would like to point out before we get to the 2-minute warning that I was absolutely correct about Oregon, and I just love that for me so bad.
Yes.
Like, I love that for me so bad. I was just like, Oregon is going to come out there and they're going to stink it up. I'm sorry. Like, hate that for them. Not really sure how I feel about first week buys because every team that got a first week buy lost. So there might be some value in continuing to play football and not sitting down for 10 days waiting for your next game. But we already know they're going to shorten the schedule anyways. But yes, I was correct. And I love that for me.
Yes.
I do, however, I think my bracket got busted because I think I might have chosen Arizona State to beat Texas. So my bracket is busted, which makes me very sad.
We do hate that. So to end the show with our 2-minute warning, I didn't even do a bracket. I'm so out of gambling bracket. Like, I'm not saying you put money on it, but
I did not.
Bracket, I don't even do any of that anymore. I'm so over
I do not put money on sports. That is not something that I do. Number one, because I want to be staff, and usually when you are staff of most places, you can't bet on sports. But yeah, I don't play those games purely for the joy. Yes, 2-minute warning. I feel like yours might be longer than mine.
Yeah, you go first.
Mine.
I have something to add to yours.
Oh, yes. Mine, plain and simple, is there's not a team that I am rooting for harder at this point from the NFL besides the Detroit Lions. Like, there's just not a team that is doing it for me the way that the Detroit Lions are doing it for me. I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I want more of it. I want to inject it into my veins. I love Dan Campbell. I love the culture. I love the vibes. It's just such a great example of when you put a woman in charge, things happen. So I am a Cowboys fan, obviously, but typically by this point in the season, I have to start picking whatever team I'm going to root for throughout the rest of the postseason because we just can't seem to make that happen. So the last couple of years, like, I ain't gonna lie, I've been kind of like bandwagoning with the Chiefs because, you know, like Patrick Mahomes, black quarterback. Oh my gosh, this is great. I just can't stand to see them in another Super Bowl. I'm so sorry. It's kind of like how I felt about the Patriots. Like, I just can't stand to see it. We need a couple years without y'all in it. So I am rooting for the Lions. But team 1A, the Baltimore Ravens, because I need Lamar Jackson so badly to get a ring. So if you guys are wondering who I was rooting for in the NFL, it goes Detroit Lions, then the Baltimore Ravens, and then Jaden Daniels will always have a fan in me. So I cannot really say for real that I'm rooting for the Commanders because that would be insane, but I am rooting for Jaden Daniels.
You know, isn't it just beautiful that the two blackest quarterbacks in the league are in Maryland, where they belong? I have so many friends in Maryland, and they love him. Like they are
Oh my
like
God.
all over Instagram. Like he's so cool. I like him a lot. He's so cool. So yeah, for me it's always CJ Stroud. He has to go first because CJ Stroud, go Bucks.
Of course.
But after that would be Lamar because like what else can you say? What else can you say? Like, and I'm not like they want to hate on him so bad. They said he was a running back. He came out and passed. They said he wasn't going to win. He won 2 MVPs. Now the only thing they have left is that he can't win in the playoffs. Brother, I'm hoping for it. I don't like the Ravens, but I'm a huge Lamar fan. Like
same.
And like, and I say all the time, I'm rooting for everybody black. Like it's great. Like and it sucks. Like they're further on my list because like I don't like really many other players on their team, and it's the Ravens and all the other. But like at some point, I just hope Lamar, like if we're recreating right the quarterback thing that we had, right, where we had Peyton and Roethlisberger and Eli and Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees, right, and not everyone can win. Someone has to not get a championship, right?
Yeah, of course.
We say we have something similar with Lamar and Mahomes and Allen and Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, right? Somebody, like, they're not all going to win. I just really need Lamar not to be the quarterback that never gets a ring. I need him to get a ring.
Agree with you.
MVP this year, but whatever.
Here's the thing about that though. The person that wins MVP, the team that they're on doesn't win the Super Bowl that same year. I could care less. Did they win the Super Bowl that same year?
He's won
when he got MVP.
When hasn't he won the Super Bowl? It feels like he wins it every year.
He lost. They lost to the Eagles at one point. I don't know. Don't ask me when.
Are you sure
they haven't won every Super Bowl that they've gone to.
Yeah. They lost to the Patriots.
They lost to somebody. The point is, a lot of the times, the same team that the MVP is on is not always the same team that wins the Super Bowl. I don't give a damn about the MVP. I need Lamar to lock in and win a ring. And here's the thing. They're being so damn disingenuous about the MVP right now anyways. They want to give it to Josh Allen so bad. Just give it to him. Like, honestly, just give it to him. I don't want to hear your logic. I don't want to hear about how somehow you think he's better when in literally every category that matters for a quarterback, Lamar is better.
Yep.
And Tony Romo is out here being goofy, talking about some. Tony Romo being goofy, talking about some. Well, I just want to give it to Josh Allen because Lamar already got it twice. This is not kindergarten. We are not sharing pizza.
But here's the thing. It's happening in every sport.
Of course.
LeBron can have like 7.
Of course.
And I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how mad that Dante gets. I remember that year. LeBron should have won it over D Rose. And that's the most controversial.
It is.
Absolutely should have won it over James Harden. Absolutely should have won it over
James Harden having a league MVP still like does not compute to me.
LeBron got and like, but the thing is, it's not only LeBron, right? Like you could probably argue Jordan. I wasn't there, of course, but Jordan probably should have more. Kobe probably should have more, right? Like he's not.
Yeah.
Like right, you could argue that
the voter fatigue happens.
Yeah, you could argue that Jokic probably should have 3-peated the year that they gave it to Embiid or whoever, or Giannis or whatever. Like, it happens. It's unfortunate, especially after 2. They never want to give the 3. Like, it's the same thing where I was just like, I think it was Bryce Young. I said he's not going to win the Heisman. Like, the Heisman loves that there's only one 2-time Heisman winner. They're never going to give it to him. Like, no matter what he does, they won't. He literally has to be so far and away the best player for them to give it to him. They won't do it. They do not want to give someone an MVP 3 years in a row. Like
they don't.
You Patrick Mahomes probably should have. So it's fine. Whatever. Like they don't want to give him a stud one. They don't want to give it back to back. It's dumb. But he's by far and away the best player in the NFL right now. So.
The best player in the NFL. And that's the thing. Just give it to Josh Allen, because what I don't want to hear either is if they do give him a 3rd MVP, they're still gonna make it about Josh Allen. And they're gonna make it more about the fact that Josh Allen lost to Lamar rather than whatever. So just give it to your favorite white boy. Josh Allen is balling. No one's saying he's not doing well. But what we're not gonna do is act like he's doing better than Lamar. Like, we just don't have to do that. So, ciao. Anyways, yeah. I need Lamar to win a Super Bowl. But as far as like a team and a culture and a vibe and like that and what I'm rooting for, like I would love for the Detroit Lions to get their first Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like first ever. Like that's crazy. You know, I love a sports history moment. As y'all know, I love my factoids and my
Wait,
little
what did you just say?
whatever. I was saying I would love for the Detroit Lions to get their first Super Bowl.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought you said the Ravens for a second, and I was like,
No, 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 no.
you don't remember when Ray Rice, not Ray Rice, Ray
No.
Lewis bullied his way into a ring?
Not bully, but no, I'm saying like for a cultural moment, I am rooting more for the Detroit Lions because I love a sport. I love a sports history moment. So that's the bigger thing for me is like, oh my gosh, that'd be so great to like witness them to say like, oh my gosh, I was there when the Detroit Lions won their first Super Bowl. So, and I love me some Dan Campbell. So,
I would not be mad at the Lions at all.
Yeah, really, it's Lions or Ravens or bust. So we'll just have to see.
Yep.
Now, if they play each other, it's gonna sound real. It's gonna sound like I'm watching the Aces versus the Chicago Sky because I'm rooting for both sides at that point. I just want all teams. I just want everyone to have fun.
Yeah. So, the other thing I was gonna say, Coco Golf invested in
Unrivaled. I know.
It's so. Oh, did you see it? Because maybe you saw. I saw it in the middle of the podcast, so I don't know if you looked at your phone or if you saw.
Oh, I saw it already. Yeah.
Okay. It's so crazy how much fun they seem to be having.
They are running circles around the WNBA right now.
Yeah.
Maybe Breonna Stewart should be the WNBA commissioner.
Listen,
like maybe her and Nafisa, they need to be co-commissioners because the way that they have built this brand, the way that they have gotten the buy-in from all of these other sponsors. I mean, Sephora is sponsoring them. Sephora sponsored them and then sent makeup artists and Fenty hair artists to do the girls' hair and makeup for Media Day.
Beautiful.
Like the WNBA is not even providing that for Media Day. Like their facilities are gorgeous. They are treating these women like professional athletes, and it is so much fun to watch. And you can even see how much joy they have in receiving that treatment. And it's just
the best part about it is they're not gonna have to go overseas. Like I don't think this fails. I don't think this fails.
No. And the average salary is $272,000. Some of them you have to play in the WNBA for almost 5 years to make that much.
Yep.
And they're getting that in 3 months.
I'm very interested to see if they end up getting a lockout or what's going to happen because they're opting out. Or they're planning to opt out of their deal. And I know that minimum salary is going to be stiff.
It's going to have to be. They're not going to be playing. Because here's the thing. They already see the money coming. Right. And Shanae, being as smart as she is, not Shanae, Nneka, being as smart as she is like, oh, hell no. What we're not going to do is go another year in this league after y'all just made money hand over fist off of Caitlin Clark and everything else that you had going on. And now you're signing $1 million distribution deal.
Yep. And the TV deal is not even finished. TV deal is not even finished because they have those one-off packages with IR and stuff like that. They haven't redone. Expansion rights fees coming in, like.
And you think you're not about to give us, the players, the people who made this league, a piece of the pie?
I know it's soccer, but soccer brought the in between two teams, right? So the 15th team, their expansion fee was $53 million. They just announced the 16th team. Unfortunately, it was fucking Denver and not Ohio. Guess how much it was?
80.
105.
Jesus.
It essentially doubled.
Jesus.
So like,
which is great. This is awesome.
Happen right with the WNBA. Like those rights become more expensive as you do more things.
Exactly.
So that money's coming in. So
I love it. I absolutely love it. I need people to stop saying that Caitlin Clark helped those girls get paid more because that's not true. Nobody's gotten paid more yet. But I would not be mad at a lockout, especially if Kathy Engelberg is going to try to act like she wants to lowball and be. She's horrible. Like if she wants to act like she wants to lowball and play in these women's faces, because if we want to be honest, she's been playing in their face this whole time. Yeah. So it's kind of like, girl, I will not pick up this basketball. Like I will not. Yeah. And I think I'm gonna have to look back into it. I don't think the WNBA has ever had a lockout before.
No, because I don't think they've always had collective bargaining. Like they're starting to catch up with something.
So I don't think they've ever had a lockout before. And I mean, you can even go down into sports history and see how much better it always gets for players after there's a lockout. I mean, every major sport has had one. So, you know.
Yes. Okay.
And then and it's also like other stuff too. Like even Cheryl Swoops had brought up, like they have no provisions for when the players retire. They have nothing. They don't have health coverage. They don't have nothing for the players when they retire. Huh?
I think college athletes get like 2 years.
They don't have nothing for the WNBA.
Boy.
So she was even mentioning like for the next CBA, can we put in provisions for retired players, retirees, and what that process looks like to still have some sort of resources, because a lot of them, they just retire and hope for the best. Yeah. And that's ridiculous. If I gave you 10 years of my life, 15 years of my life, I gave you my body and you can't give me
insurance. Yeah.
Anything.
And that's the thing. It's just like, I do understand, but I think it's crazy how you have these sports leagues and you like, okay, you pay less, you do all these things, fine, whatever, like not fine, but like whatever. But like there should be like bare minimums, right? Like locker rooms, uniforms,
facilities,
you have health insurance, like that. You get a pension, like bare minimums, and then you tailor certain things to the league, right? Like, obviously women's sports are going to need more comprehensive parental league than the NFL. Like,
of course,
but like you don't have health insurance for retirees. That's not bare minimum. That's not bare minimum. Okay, whatever.
But again, we see who's in charge. It's Kathy Engelberg, but it's also Adam Silver. Like we cannot act like Adam Silver is not a part of this nonsense. And look at how he's destroying the NBA. Well, so,
boy,
he is destroying the NBA. Yes. So, child.
Okay, so mine, I'm going to try to make this quick because if I don't make it quick, I'm going to spiral. And if I spiral, you're going to spiral because this is something that we both care about. Also, I need to make this as PG-13 as possible.
Oh, God, this is going to be fun to watch.
So, 2 things. First of all, when a man of any race, but when a man is being sued for sexual harassment and sexual assault, you do not get to spend all of your time talking about a woman who is just briefly mentioned. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Skip Bayless and a Fox exec and some other people are being sued for sexually harassing a former hairstylist on Fox Network, including Skip giving her long hugs and kisses on the cheeks and like rubbing on her and offering her $1.5 million to have sex with him and talking about
that's insane,
change her life and all of these things. The thing is, and that's the basic information that I know because I haven't had the time to read the whole thing. The problem is I was on social media and my entire social media wasn't talking about Skip. It was talking about how somewhere mentioned, who's not a named complainant, it's literally only mentioned to give, I believe, background into Fox's operations.
Structure,
and the fact that they were friends at a certain point. It is mentioned that supposedly Joy Taylor had sex with the Fox exec to get her job and that she was having a consensual relationship with Emmanuel Acho. And that's all people were talking about. And trying to belittle women in sports and trying to do all these things and saying, well, if Joy did it, Taylor Rooks and Sage Steele and all these other people and all these names probably did it and all this stuff. And my thing is, even if she did it, that is
what does that have to do
compared to Fox execs and Skip Bayless, the biggest name in Fox sports media at the time, sexually harassing and sexually assaulting. And here's the thing with that, right? If they did it to her, she was not the only one. She was not the first. She's just the first that spoke up. In the complaint, she specifically says that Skip got mad at her that she said no because he said, you won't sleep with me because you're sleeping with Shannon Sharp. Which is not corroborated. Shannon is not in this at all, right? His name is not in this at all outside of this, right? But the point is, it is so rampant, supposedly, that he assumed Shannon was doing it too.
That it was just part of the culture,
You won't sleep with me because you're sleeping with him.
Yeah. Not because I just don't want to.
right? So, and the last thing that I have to say, and this is the part that I have to try to keep PG. If her, Joy Taylor, or Kamala, or any other woman in the world successfully slept their way to the top, sounds to me like they just used their resources. And it sounds to me like if you could do it, you probably would too. And maybe you're one of the few people who truly believe in the tires are from bootstraps and all these other kind of things. But I'm sorry, I see nothing wrong with that. And I don't even like Joy Taylor because genuinely, I don't think she's good at her job. And I don't like her attitude.
I don't really know much about her.
I just like the problem is, and this is why I don't talk about her, because the things that I don't like about her, I also don't like about half the men on there. It's not specific to her.
I mean, if you have been hired by Fox, never mind, let me stop.
I just don't think she knows what she's talking about. But neither does Emmanuel Acho. But also, I think that she just, for lack of a better term, she just gives Mean Girl, right?
Yeah.
And she just like says these things with this level of conviction that like, but she's like wrong, and it's just like this like, duh, you should know that. Like you're just like, it just gives, she thinks everyone's stupid.
Yeah, she has very condescending vibe. Yeah,
that matters to me. Even if she did do it, good for her. Good for everyone else that did it. If I could get a promotion and it was good and it was big enough that it was worth it, and I got my wife's permission, I'd do it. If someone told me I give you this job and your salary's now gonna be $500K, you know what I would do? I would go home and I say, hey, this is the situation. You all right? She's probably gonna say no. That's not the point.
I'm literally not entertaining that at all. But the other thing too about that is
like that doesn't matter to me. Like we all like maybe not all of us, most of us do that for free or out of love or whatever. And if you have the ability to do that and to get a job or whatever, all these other, like none of that matters to me. But also, it specifically does not matter in the context of someone sexually harassing and assaulting other women. Because it was not just him, Skip is just the name that people know, some of the most powerful people, the main broadcaster, the execs, the owners, creating a culture where they feel like they can go and they can sexually harass and they can pay and they can touch and feel and do all these things on the women that work there behind the scenes and maybe in front of the camera, because they have money and because these people want their jobs. And do you know how hard it has to be for you to look at this man who is the literal face of this company and knows that he could get you fired and tell him no when he's offering you money and he's touching and he's doing these things? And again, she couldn't have been the first. She literally, if I remember correctly, she opened it up to where it could potentially be a class action lawsuit, which means more people could jump on. So,
and no one's doing that.
Why are you talking about Taylor? Why are you talking about Joy Taylor? Why are you talking about Emmanuel Acho? What are you talking about? One of the biggest things in sports is being accused of sexually harassing and assaulting women and offering millions of dollars to sleep with them. And you're worried about Joy Taylor? Because you don't. Because what? Tell me why. I know why. It's because you don't respect her and you don't respect women and you don't think women should be in sports. And so when you hear these stories, whether they're true or not, it devalues all women and it devalues all of their contributions and all of these things. To mention Taylor Rooks and to mention these other people. And it's like, and that's the thing. We don't know if Joy did it, but even if she did, it does not matter. And it definitely does not matter in the context of other women. And now there are people saying, "Oh, she set women back 20 years,
20 years,
all this other kind of stuff." But Skip didn't.
Skip is setting
because men sexually harassing women never sets men back.
And also,
supposedly, like it just go ahead.
Men sexually harassing women is also like the sun coming out every day. Like, let's be for real. I'm sorry. Let's be for real. Also, if women actually had the ability to sleep their way to the top, more women would be in charge. Let's just start there. More women would be at the top if that's all that was necessary. But also, how can someone sleep their way to the top if the only way that they are getting their career advancement is by dealing with a power hungry man who feels like the only way you deserve it is by you sleeping with him. Like, that's still a man drunk on power and wielding it over you. And if you participate as a woman or a man, but if you participate as a woman in that, that's whatever choice you feel like making. But that's still a man wielding power over you.
Yeah.
So even if Joy did, quote unquote, sleep her way to the top, that was still a dynamic that should not have existed. And that's the
Because,
problem,
yeah,
is
like
that a dynamic like that should not exist. I should not be having to sleep with anybody to get a stinking promotion. But we're not having that conversation. We're just talking about, oh, well, she slept her way to the top and she's bad for that. Why can't we talk about the fact that that should not even be a thing?
because at my job, at your job, at anyone else's job, if they found out that they were giving out promotions that way, everyone would be fired.
Everybody's
So
fired.
nobody's like, oh my God, Fox is doing this in HR and all. No, it's she did this. Not the
Just
fact
her
that, even if she
by
did it,
herself.
the fact that she had the ability to do it, that someone presented this to her.
And look-key, I feel like when men say that, I feel like men, I'm just gonna keep it real. I feel like men say that because they're mad that they can't do that. They're mad that they don't have that type of option where they can just use their bodies as ways to get some sort of promotion or get some sort of elevation, even though that's still not what women do for real. But y'all are just mad because y'all feel like this is one of the quote unquote privileges that we have as a woman. And this is not a privilege to be reduced to my body and to be reduced to just the things that I can do for you sexually instead of my work being the reason why you feel like I deserve elevation, or the fact that you don't even have enough freaking self-control to be around somebody of the opposite gender and not be weird. That's ridiculous. I don't want child, but
so the moral of the story is two things. One, even if she did do that, that is not an indictment on all women or any other woman or really herself, but like it's not an indictment on that, and it's not an excuse for you as a man or a woman, because I've seen some women doing it as well, to then try to discredit all women in sports and assume that they're all doing that. Secondly,
and I don't understand how she became the representation for all women in sports. Like, I'm real confused.
Secondly, whether she did or did not does not matter when you have these rich execs and personalities using their position of power to sexually assault, harass, and try to turn regular people, regular working people, into sex workers, trying to pay for people's bodies and to have sex with them in their place of employment.
And this is happening in many, many, many male-dominated spaces. There's not a woman on this planet who has not worked in a male-dominated space and has not been harassed, assaulted, or whatever at some point. At some point, especially when you're talking about these good old boy environments such as sports.
And me.
Like, especially when you're talking about those good and boy environments such as certain high levels of business, Wall Street, those types of places where these men are drunk, absolutely drunk on power and money and fame and all the things, Hollywood. Like, come on.
And the last thing that I gotta say about this, so we can get out of here because this show's running long, is this is how disgusting this gets. Jason Whitlock, who's on Fox and or ESPN, he's on one of them. I think he's on Fox. I don't even know if this is his personal podcast or if this is a Fox show. He came out and said she knew with that big old rack and that peanut butter skin to stay away from me. Hold on. I don't ever do this, but let me see.
I know what I'm.
Oh, now my phone missing it.
Capable of. I know what I'm capable of. And that big rack of hers that she showed off constantly. It's just, and that peanut butter skin with that big rack. Like, Jay, keep your distance.
That is how people at Fox and ESPN on these podcasts, in these positions, in these things, talk about the women that they work with on a public podcast with money behind it. And the thing is, I can't even tell if he did this live on Fox or if it was a podcast because of the level of production. He's at a desk. There's a camera. I don't know where he did this. I'd have to Google it. But
I'm about to crash out. Yeah, we got to stop. So, I'm about to crash out. I'm about to crash out right now.
Yeah.
That big peanut butter. He spoke about her like she was a literal piece of meat, a literal
where is
commodity
around the actual problem?
But when a woman has the audacity to stand up and say, I don't want to be treated this way, it's crickets. Like, what?
Yeah. So
what?
That is my 2-minute warning. And we're going to end the show before we're here for 2 hours because it's going to piss both of us off if we keep talking about it. But this is not about Joy Taylor. This is about Lewis. This is about the exec at Fox, and this is about the other men in these industries who do this to women and put them in this position where they can't even go to work and make money for themselves and their families without being propositioned. And as always, we thank you for listening to the show. We will talk to you next week.